Okay, quick quiz. What's Riley's favorite sport in Inside Out? So, if you said hockey, you'd be right, but in the international version, Riley actually plays football, and no, not American football, I'm talking about soccer, guys. She likes soccer. While it doesn't change the intent of the movie, it's a fun exercise to imagine what Riley's international version is like compared to the standard American one. Did you also know that she hates a different vegetable in the Japanese adaptation? Oh yeah, just wait, there's a lot more to go through. That's the point of all of these entries. Here's your chance to rediscover all of your favorite films from a new perspective. Let's consider it an opportunity for cultural exploration. Sounds fancy now, right?
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Cap's bucket list book. You know that friend you have who's super into Marvel, and at every party he's just dying to tell you those tiny facts about the film? Well, this is the trivia he's been trying to tell you about, but you keep walking away from him like Mr. Peanut Butter looking for Erica.
Erica! Look at you with the right number of ears.
This detail is actually cool though. It makes the attention to detail even more impressive. So right here, as Steve Rogers begins to put the Trouble Man soundtrack in his notebook, every American audience saw the same thing. For us, Star Wars and Star Trek were massive. Still, there were meaningful cultural moments every country remembers that the filmmakers wanted to include. No one gets left out of this small change. So the prop department created notebooks with a bevy of different bucket list items. Each corresponds to another country's interest. Imagine how many notebooks and takes it took to make this possible. The decision helped Captain America feel more than a one-country hero. So see, this is what that friend was trying to tell you. Pretty cool, right? Riley's most hated vegetable. I told you I'd tell you about it, and I meant it. Plus, this video isn't like the other listicles that will make you wait forever to get to the teaser entry. It's your content, and you deserve it. And sorry, that was an odd time for that tirade, but my point still stands. Let's talk about Riley, though, and pretend nothing happened. The key to this whole change is broccoli. Yeah, the vegetable your parents forced you to eat as a child while promising it would make you big and strong. Well, Mom, Bruce Wayne never had parents to make him eat broccoli and he ended up big and strong. That must have been a lie, and Riley knows it, hence the reason it's her least favorite vegetable. Or is it? In Japan, broccoli is a super popular side that doesn't take a fake airplane to get kids to eat it. Pixar's protagonist not liking a staple like broccoli wasn't going to translate, so bam, they turned them into green peppers to make sure the message didn't get lost in translation. Jeremy Clarkson's secret cameo. You know, I was doing my research for this video and saw the character Harv from Cars come up again and again. I thought to myself, who the hell is Harv? Turns out, he's Lightning McQueen's agent in the first Cars movie, so obviously this fun factoid was even more of a surprise to me personally. You might remember Harv as voiced by Jeremy Piven. That casting choice is super uninspired too. Turns out UK fans got a much better end of the deal when the international team used Jeremy Clarkson to voice Harv in their version. How did they get that deal made? Lucky? Clarkson was the host of Top Gear for years and one of the country's most well-known car fanatics. It makes a ton of sense that he would voice Harv in the movie. It's a shame that they didn't keep him for both versions of the film. Then again, Mater might have had some issues with Clarkson if the Top Gear trip to Alabama is any indication.
They've shot their own sign. What are they going to do to us?
The real Pride and Prejudice. Oh boy, this is quite the controversy here. Elizabeth Bennet, riding the cusp of giving up her prejudice, leans in to kiss Mr. Darcy, a man who finally lets go of his pride. Their lips impact, and the British begin to riot. Okay, so not actually, but the Jane Austen Society was undoubtedly shocked and fascinated by the American ending. Which, come on, they didn't even show that version in the United Kingdom. They kept Austen's ending for international audiences. You know, the one where the two leads don't end up kissing a whole bunch? It's undoubtedly more proper from an English view of society at this time. However, everyone knows Americans only love it if the romance ends in a kiss. So where do I stand on the issue? Well, I don't know, get back to you on that one. I still need to read the book, though I'm sure both endings are perfectly splendid. You know, if watching both versions means getting to see more Keira Knightley, then I will make that sacrifice for the viewers, of course. 13 going on Aussie. If you don't remember the Pride and Prejudice controversy, then I've got some bad news for you. You've likely forgotten all about the movie 13 going on 30 as well. It's a fun, whimsy rom-com where a 13-year-old gets her wish and wakes up as a 30-year-old Jennifer Garner. It's precisely as odd and silly as it sounds. Seriously, look at the wishing dust. Who designs a prop like that? And why was this in a children's dollhouse? To market the film for an Australian audience, the communication team came up with a different approach to the poster and title. Turns out the phrase 13 going on 30 was something only American audiences were familiar with at the time. That idiom is not common in most other countries, so instead, they took a literal approach. They seriously just called the film Suddenly 30. Look, I'm no expert on these things, but that title sucks. Jennifer Garner is suddenly 30. Well, I'll give the marketing team this. It certainly made the point clear. She is suddenly 30, but that's just so not catchy, like at all. Australia also messed up Airplane. Someone call in Hermes from the Planet Express team because it is a bureaucratic mess of worries and misunderstandings. A group of sewer rats could do a better job of planning this release out in Australia, and that's saying something. You know, given the odd mix of animals down there, I'm willing to bet that Australia has hyper-intelligent sewer rats. That's just something to look out for, guys. Here's the deal. A few years before Airplane, the comedy, came out, there was this film called The Concorde, Airport 79. It was released at the same time as Airport 80 in Australia. I think honestly, even I'm confused at this point. The truth is that one of those films was changed to the title Airplane to avoid confusion in Australia. As Airplane comes along a little later, it's stuck in this tangled web. They then changed Airplane into Flying High to avoid further confusion. For the love of God, no one release a movie called Flying High, or Australia will be in this mess all over again. Assuming they're still obsessed with changing movie titles to be more literal, that is. Russia censors Onward. Finally, here's a little more recent controversy to tickle your fancy. Remember this scene with Ian and Barley getting pulled over on their quest? This police officer, Spectre, is one of Pixar's most significant controversies on an international scale. All she did was say this one line.
It's not easy being a new parent. My girlfriend's daughter got me pulling my hair out, okay?
It doesn't seem crazy for most audiences, but Spectre was why countries in the Middle East blocked the movie. In Russia, the idea of an LGBTQ character was so appalling, they forced their voice actors to change the dialogue. Instead, Spectre's gender is left unaddressed, and she refers to her girlfriend as her partner in the Russian version. This may all sound like a bummer, but it opened up a dialogue. Whereas countries like Saudi Arabia completely blocked the movie, this change wasn't enough to completely dispel the implications of Spectre's identity. Pro-LGBTQ organizations in the country are using the change as a rallying cry for their cause. Yes, even a single scene from a children's movie can make that much of a difference in the tide of a nation's opinion. Avengers Assemble. I remember sitting in a sticky, overcrowded theater next to a bunch of strangers to watch Avengers Endgame. Now you may be asking yourself, why was the theater sticky? Well, don't worry about that. What I want you to focus on is how excited we all were when Captain America finally said the famous line,
"Say the line, Bart!"
Avengers!
Assemble.
Well, it turns out that this was more of an American thing. In the United Kingdom, there's a series about spies called Avengers that took precedent over the Marvel movies. To avoid any connection between the two franchises, the studio started calling the franchise Avengers Assemble instead. This means they got to see that line well before anyone in America did. I, for one, feel cheated by this revelation and believe it shows favoritism by the studio. We couldn't get one title card that said this famous line. Just one is all I'm asking for here, guys. And UK viewers, tell me, was it worth it still, huh? It was on the title, so did hearing it even matter in the end? I need to know. Comment below, please. Pirates of the Caribbean and the missing villain. I am once again going on record to say I am not the biggest fan of the third installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Something about the payoff doesn't sit right with me looking back at it. I think I'm lucky though, because the storyline I saw made sense. In China, there's an entire character straight up missing in action. The Chinese pirate Cao Fang was not a popular guy for the Chinese censors. This time, the decision makes a lot more sense. The way Cao Fang is written gives him this persona of being the most influential person in China. His villainous motives don't reflect the best light on the nation, and that's not what they wanted for the character. Ultimately, the studio cut over 20 minutes of screen time, including most of the beginning. On the one hand, it's nice that they didn't have to sit through a long Pirates movie. On the other hand, I'm willing to bet a lot of the plot did not make total sense to them by that point. The UK loves long titles. Why the United Kingdom finds it necessary to make titles as long as possible, I'll never know. Here we are again with the final entry. Another example of a title change meant for marketing. This one I flat out do not get. It's about the Peanuts movie that you probably didn't see but liked the thought of going to watch for whatever reason. Marketers on the UK team wanted more character name recognition, hence they renamed it to Snoopy and Charlie Brown, the Peanuts movie. They're literally on the front of the poster. Are you telling me that an enormous Snoopy with the title Peanuts wasn't enough to get people to remember this one? Here's the other thing. Why does Snoopy get top billing? I get that he's the one on the keychains and the t-shirts, but Charlie Brown is the main character, Snoopy is his dog, and Charlie is first alphabetically. They are doing my guy dirty over there across the pond. You know, I've always wondered if Steve Rogers even finished that whole list. I mean, at some point it would feel never-ending. He could have just pulled an Austin Powers and watched a really long documentary. Maybe that's in one of the international versions. I'll go check. You carry on with your YouTube binge. Oh my gosh, what in the world is